just federal. 50,000. That's all I got left. And if federal takes care of me, it's nothing.
Okay. Anybody else?
Oh, it took me,
Someone's hating life tomorrow.
Okay.
Someone's hating life tomorrow.
And I think we have a cat coming who has a big.
I can. Buy my groceries.
Nice. Yeah.
Are we like saying our name, where we're from, what campus we went to?
Yeah, you could do something like that. Yeah, there it is. Do do do. That's great.
Daylight education.
you didn't go to music school, did you? If you did, you got
Yeah.
ripped off.
Oh! Whoa! Wah, 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 wah.
Feds.
All right.
That was a good burn, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was. It was good. Mic, no, I'm not going to drop the mic. Also, can everyone just say a big thank you to Patrick? Patrick is wonderful.
Nice one, Patrick.
And Patrick Starr is wonderful too, but this Patrick, I think, is better.
Do you want to give the person who's
Yeah, sorry. I'm hogging it. I'm having fun. No.
Yes.
Are we ready? Is it just like you go? Okay. My name is Jessica Kane. I went to Argosy Twin Cities. I have $78,000 in student debt. I am here today because I was frauded by my college. I went to what was announced as a nonprofit, later to be found out to be a for-profit. And what happened is in March of 2019, my campus locked its doors. I was 3 months away from graduation, and there was no teach-out plan. There was no education advisor who was going to help us out. My cohort and I, of about 16 people, found a college in Arizona that was willing to take us, but we had to double our internship hours. A lot of us had to quit our full-time jobs so we could do that. I moved in with my parents as a lovely 28-year-old, and I am here today to get this debt canceled. I'm a therapist. I'm unable to buy a house with my student debt. I'm unable to do a lot of things that I would love to do in this world, including go to trainings for my clients because I owe this debt. In this group, standing among me, is multiple colleges, and we have a cumulative total of $4,710,583.91 in student loans because we were frauded.
I'll go, but I don't want to wait. I'll get it done and over with. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Rachel Seitzma-Ramos, and I'm a clinical psychologist from Skokie, Illinois. I attended Argosy University Chicago from September 2009 until September 2016, obtaining my master's and doctoral degrees in clinical psychology with a concentration in diversity and multicultural psychology. When I entered the program, I had $0 in student loans as I had received some financial aid, scholarships, and paid for the remaining costs as a full-time employee for my undergraduate degree. Because of EDMC's fraudulent student loan practices, I now have $583,729 in student loans. In January of 2009, I was researching graduate programs to obtain my PsyD. In this process, I was recruited heavily by Argosy University Chicago's campus through a series of phone calls and emails, rapid fire succession. I scheduled an informational tour and interview and was provided with a student handbook and other informational materials. In these materials, it was made clear that my higher education would come at a cost, but the average cost an Argosy graduate from the PsyD program was about $150,000 for 4 years of school. At that time, the tuition was roughly $8.50 per credit hour, and a full-time student was expected to have 9 to 12 credit hours per semester, as well as participate in a practicum of roughly 20 to 25 hours per week, for which we had to pay for a seminar credit hour per semester, all while providing free services to the communities we were serving through this training experience. I was assured that there would be some scholarships and aid I could apply for and potentially receive. But student loans were easily obtained in comparison to undergraduate loans due to not utilizing one's parents' financial information in determining what loans they qualify for. Not to mention, my earning potential as a clinical psychologist would easily be in the six figures as soon as I graduated. So paying off those loans would be much easier than it would be if I didn't have a PsyD. After applying, interviewing, and accepting my enrollment at Argosy University, a meeting with financial aid was swiftly scheduled so that I could provide the necessary information to apply for these student loans. It was required that students meet with a financial aid advisor every semester to apply for the new and additional loans needed, and I was encouraged to simply request max as the student loan amount. I was never provided with another option, and I was not provided with the dollar amount this request translated to until after my student loans were applied to my tuition and dispersed to my bank account. In addition to the student loan stipends from which we paid our living expenses and basic needs, were withheld from our bank accounts long after the designated, quote, 2 weeks post-start of semester date. One semester, my loans were withheld until the week before the end of class due to, quote, technical issues with my bank. My bank denied any issues, nothing had changed, and the next semester, the money arrived as it usually did at that 2-week mark. When these issues occurred, we were simply encouraged to petition to request additional funding from the government and following semester to make up for the gap in funding. We were told there was nothing Argosy could do to get the money in our hands faster, and thus we should just ask for more and pay our bills in advance to avoid eviction or other financial consequences. That is how I became our campus's de facto representative for this petition process. I worked closely with the head of financial aid to strengthen my request for additional funding. Hold on, I gotta turn a page. And write out a step-by-step guide for how students could easily request these additional funds. Because I was working in the clinical psychology training department as a federal work-study employee at the time and was president of the Student Government Association, I was highly encouraged by the head of this department and the president of the campus to spread this information widely and assist students in strengthening their petitions for additional funding. Pause for effect.
Everybody wave the Biden coming back.
That would have been
Okay. 3 times, the head of the financial aid department and I held Q&A sessions for the campus as a whole to attend about how to fill out these petitions and what sorts of evidence you would need to receive the additional funding. Again, we were encouraged to just request the maximum amount allowed without being told what that actually would be. I was specifically encouraged to share this information with students who were beginning to apply for their APIC internships, as this was an expensive task requiring many application fees, travel expenses, and possible relocation out of the state or country. In 2018, I began teaching at Argosy University, Chicago as an adjunct professor. While my time teaching was very brief due to the sudden and traumatic closure of EDMC campuses nationwide, I had students approach me in that time regarding the need for additional funding, stating other professors had encouraged them to discuss it with me since I was now the expert on how to engage in this process successfully and get additional funding. It became clear to me that this fraudulent practice was still encouraged, and students remained ill-informed as to what their loans would be and when they would receive them. It made me sick to my stomach to know that vulnerable students were still being encouraged to sacrifice their future to keep the Argosy machine working, and now I'm being encouraged to comply as an employee. Long before the school's closure, alumni from Argosy and other schools started coming together to call out these fraudulent and predatory practices for profit schools. Under the previous administration, we were repeatedly told that if we were successfully employed in a job that utilized our degree earned at Argosy, we did not qualify for any defense or debt relief efforts. But how does my moxie and determination to earn and use my degrees nullify the obvious fact that I was lied to, manipulated, and frauded into requesting these student loans that I'll never be able to pay off? How does my on-paper success reduce the harm that was caused to me and my family, harm which will last decades? The truth is, my ability to use my degrees to form and operate a successful business, to provide quality supervision and support to my clinicians, and to serve vulnerable communities through my work as a psychologist does not make it easier for me to sleep at night, knowing that my financial future was in jeopardy before my diploma was printed. Not to mention that high earning potential I was sold on by the school is not as high as promised, despite being successful in private practice. Because of my $583,729 in student loan debt, I will never be able to purchase a home for me and my family. I will not be able to support my children's higher education should they wish to go to college. Without an income-based repayment plan, my student loan payments would be over $5,000 a month, which is approximately half of my household income. This would leave my spouse and I unable to pay for our rent, childcare costs, car payments, etc. Because of this vast amount of student loan debt, I do not qualify for other financial support such as Chapter 7 or 13 bankruptcy assistance due to the high debt-to-income ratio and the $300,000 student loan cap. This debt has crippled our ability to save for emergencies, followed up with medical procedures that were necessary, invest in our futures, and limited our ability to participate in the economy in meaningful ways. I see no future in which I'll be able to retire and plan to work until the day I die. When you take this into consideration and apply it to over 150 schools and thousands of students, maintaining the student loan debt has significant negative impacts on our country as a whole. With student debt cancellation, I would be able to breathe easier, knowing I can support my family's present and future needs. I'd be able to save for emergencies and otherwise. I wouldn't have to worry about taking myself or my children to the doctor for more complicated medical issues because I didn't have enough money available in my account. I would be able to purchase a home. I would be able to make plans for retirement in the future. I could help my children pursue their occupational and educational goals as they grow into adults. I would be able to invest in our economy and not just keep my head above water. I would finally be able to hope for what's to come instead of regretting what happened to me. I'd be empowered instead of victimized, and so would thousands of others whose stories are so very similar to my own. Cancel student debt, and you give thousands of people the opportunity to pursue the American dream of which we hold most dear. Cancel the student debt, and you will see how positively the economy will be impacted through our participation and investments. Cancel student debt, and you'll give justice to the thousands of students who are victims of a horrible crime. Thank you.
Sorry. I don't know why I'm saying sorry. It's trauma. It's never too soon. So my name is Tanisha Sproul. I attended Brooks Institute of Photography from March 2003 to February 2005. I majored in still photography, and it must be stated that I was 18 years old when I started at the school. Upon my expected graduation, I thought I'd be the next, Annie Leibovitz or Jim Marshall. I loved black and white photography, and I still do. I studied portrait photography. I did wet printing, all the joys and things like that. I enjoyed music, so I thought I was going to go on the road as a band photographer. I would have really loved to do that. Overall, I am an artist, and I have studied many things. At Brooks, I had to use loans to pay for not only tuition, but supplies, which that is something that they didn't exactly tell us about. So that includes film, rentals, processing, things like that. There was also a short period of time before I got where I used it to pay for school housing, which was off-campus apartments, which was not really secured somehow. I borrowed federal and private loans. My current federal balance is $79,316. And that amount is $8,489 in interest. The private loans, the original amount I borrowed was $85,000, and the interest on that is, I don't exactly know, but it's $358,068 $1,000,000.35. So my total student loan balance that I owe, both federal and private, are $437,384.35. That number is so big I don't even know how to say it. I don't even make paychecks that are like over like four digits right now. Is it a digit? I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. But this, honestly, the only way that I'm able to feed myself somewhat consistency right now is due to having EBT benefits. I'm living in often consistent gig work, and I help from my parents. Even when I worked in TV production and making ends meet, I never made enough to pay for these balances, enough to afford to like live. I would be better off literally flushing my money down the toilet than making payments on these loans. Brooks Institute of Photography lied and misled us. They misled us about the actual cost. They misled us about accreditation and transferability. When I left the school in 2005 is when I discovered that the school was not accredited. I did not understand what that really meant until I attended Santa Barbara City College. None of my credits transferred, and I had to repeat all of those core classes. I even took the same math course with the same professor I had at Brooks. After a few years, I finally attained an AA degree in liberal arts, and I graduated with honors in 2010 from Santa Monica College. With my good grades, I wanted to go on to get my BA. I was even offered to go to Columbia University. However, without a full scholarship, that is not an option for me. I tried to attend a school for surgical tech training, but I am unable to pay for that out of pocket and my living expenses. And I can't get any more federal loans or grants to help me pay for it because going to Brooks maxed out the amount of financial aid I'm allowed in grants, and all the free money is gone, basically. I can't get any more private loans because I'm in a different field of study now. I didn't know that either. So if I wanted to change fields of study, I'm not able to apply for more loans for a different field that would make more money. Brooks Institute of Photography has also affected my life by ruining my credit for probably like 20 years. I remember I had an 800 credit score when I was 18. I even signed for my sister's private loans, and she went to get her master's degree. I was unable to pay rent and an apartment of my own, and even denied jobs based on my credit score. There were times where I was literally living on the streets and had a full-time job, and I would get harassing phone calls from the loan company telling me to pay thousands of dollars that I didn't even have. They would tell me things like, "Oh, you should have thought about that before deciding to go to this school. You should have thought about that and stayed at home and lived with your parents to pay off these loans." I'm sorry, isn't the American dream to like get an education, move out of your parents' house, and get a home of your own to start a life? I'm stuck right now in a pay level because I do not have a bachelor's of arts, and it feels like all the jobs that I qualify for, I may as well have dropped out of high school. Do you know you have to have a BA to work at Enterprise Rent-A-Car? Yeah. Yes. And it's surprising because like they don't even like, they're not really good at customer service, but like you have to have a BA, which, you know, that's just a sidebar. I still have dreams and aspirations, but short of becoming a millionaire, I don't know how I'll be able to do the simple things in life, like starting a family, buying a home, or saving for retirement. What's that? What are savings? I really hope that you take my story and others like mine into consideration when deciding on student loan debt cancellation for those of us that went to predatory schools like Brooks Institute of Photography that have been shut down due to their illegal actions and should not be saddled with this debt. It feels like we're being punished for the corporate greed that is not the American dream. Thank you. Who's next?
Good job.
Hey, Education Department. Cardona, you listening? My name's Dr. Laura Strong. I attended the now defunct Argosy University Schaumburg in Illinois. It took me a lot of time to write my story. After the election, my spirits were broken. It's been difficult to focus, get myself back on track. Given the threats to shut down the education department, I can completely understand you wanting to stop working, stop caring, throw your hands up, right? I'm asking you to stay focused, to help us stay on track. It totally sucks to lose your job, but if you do, you have the ability to find another one. Unfortunately for us, we are at the end of the road. And if you fail to help us, we are stuck with the burden of thousands of dollars worth of student loans. There are no other avenues for us except crippling debt and not being able to move forward with our lives. Have you experienced one of those moments when you realized you were deceived, shuckstered, hustled, taken advantage of? It's unfortunate, but I think most of us can. It is a gut-wrenching pit in the stomach. Shame and embarrassment set in. And you start saying to yourself, how could I be so gullible? So naive, I'm stupid, I'm pathetic. The internal name-calling and judgments continue. I always knew there was some shady business going on at my graduate school, but I did not realize the extent and pervasiveness until earlier this year when I read countless student experiences over and over again about the deception, lies, blatant fraud committed by Argosy University and EDMC. I'm overwhelmed and discouraged by the amount of student loan debt I have. I cannot believe that the years of payments I have made have only seemed to increase my loan amount. If I make payments and the loan grows, how can I ever expect to pay it off? It feels like walking into a cave with no guide, and then the walls start to fall down around you, and if you can still manage to move, you don't see a way out. I'm embarrassed about my debt, and others often judge me over it. People assume I'm irresponsible or trying to get a handout. They have no idea how my predatory for-profit school existed and how rampant their deceit was. I attended my school from January 2008 to 2013, completed my doctorate degree in clinical psychology. I was told originally that the graduate program would cost me under $100,000. I now have over $250,000 in student loans. I knew from the age of 12 that I wanted to be a psychologist. I was so excited to be admitted into a doctoral program directly from undergraduate. I couldn't wait to learn the tools needed to help people overcome their struggles with depression and anxiety. I wanted and still want to help people be happier and healthier. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. I still live here. I currently own and live in a home with my husband, dogs, and cats. But I had to live with my parents until I was 30 years old because of how expensive graduate school was. And I needed that time to save money once I was licensed so I could even afford to move out. I have my own clinical psychology practice and have been working for 11 years. For a long time after graduation, I had to work 3 jobs, my private practice, as a group therapist at a hospital, a statistician for another hospital. About 1/5 of my income goes to pay student loans. I'm dreading the time when I have to restart repayment. It will be upwards of $2,000 a month, depending on what available income-based repayment plans exist at that time. I'm worried about the stress it will take on me financially and the need to work more. The forbearance has allowed me to make much-needed repairs on my home, pay for dog vet bills, provide discounts to patients in need. But all that will change once loan repayment resumes. When I started at Argosy, I had no idea the school could create such harm and damage to students. As I studied through my program, I saw things that were not right. Overcharging tuition, refusing to let students get into programs they were told previously you were just going to be a shoo-in for, an inability to get training experiences, ever-increasing tuition, and then watching as my peers dropped out around me while saddled with debt and nothing to show for it. Debt cancellation would provide me the relief of the never-ending cycle of loan payments that is my future. It is knowing that I would have the ability to invest more time, energy, and financial resources into my community rather than paying back interest on a loan that's based on fraud. Now is not the time to wait and consider. You have the evidence, Education Department. You know we were defrauded. Cancel our loans now.
Hello, my name is Rosalba Dominguez, and I'm finishing my term as a councilwoman in my hometown of Murray City, Utah. And I will be I am the representative-elect of Utah. My story started with being a young girl who knew there was a bigger world outside of my red state. In 2002, I enrolled into Brooks Institute of Photography, taking out loans over $85,000. After graduation, I realized soon enough my credits would not transfer to become and continue my education to be an attorney. Now I just get to change laws. When I returned home, I moved in with my parents, and I was depressed for many years. At times, I apologize. I am way ahead. At times, contemplating if life was worth living. Eventually, I continued to live life, living within very little, clipping coupons, going from job after job. I did have the dream job at Univision. I was a producer, and at one point, I lost that job because the economy crashed after Bush in 2008. Needless to say, I delayed getting married, having children, or buying a home, because the shame of having student loans and talking about it was harder than giving myself an opportunity to live life. At 37, I reconnected with my high school best friend. We moved in together, and to boot, we got married during COVID. I now am helping him raise his 2 children during this time. I learned all those years of waiting to have a family, I lost my window and opportunity to have a child of my own. If I were to have one, I would have to undergo IVF treatment, which even with the best insurance as an elected official, it costs anywhere from over $40,000. When you are in severe debt, you become hyper aware of what choices in life you should make. To raise a child today would cost almost $250,000. You begin to weigh your options. Do I buy a home? Do I get married? Do I have children? And I settled with raising someone else's children. At 37, I was moved to run for office and create space for anyone and a young girl named Rosalba Dominguez to see herself in leadership in my red state, to advocate for her family, and advocate for the most vulnerable. I spent many years in shame, but this debt does not define me. It empowers me to support those who dedicate their life to empower others, to do what they love or without even education. I tell my younger self, you invested in yourself, and you should not be ashamed for that. You were targeted because the government allowed a private company to target you. We must demand and continue to ask for our loans to be forgiven so we can live a healthy and fruitful life as an American. We should be allowed to do that.
Is that okay? Okay, cool. Oh, wait.
Hold your sign?
Yeah, that'd be cool. Sorry, I have it on my phone. Okay, hold on. Hold on, sorry.
Okay.
No apologies needed.
Let's see. Okay. So, my name is Sarah Wilchma, and I'm here today to speak for not only myself, but also countless students who were exploited by Argosy University and abandoned by the system that allowed it to happen. I owe $366,966 in student loans, a number that doesn't just represent money. It represents years of my life stolen by a predatory institution, the career I lost faith in, and the toll it has taken on my family and my future. I enrolled in Argosy University to pursue a doctorate in clinical psychology because I wanted to help underserved communities. No, yeah, maybe this way. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, okay, wait. I'm like, thank you. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to help underserved communities. My training focused on working in forensic and correctional settings, and I excelled in placements across Minnesota prisons. I was committed to making a difference, but Argosy had a different plan, one rooted in exploitation and profit. What Argosy advertised to me couldn't have been further from the truth. They promised a path to completing my degree with a reasonable time commitment and cost. What I got instead was years of additional unpaid labor, ballooning expenses, and unfair demands that left me burnt out and broke. The program required more than it gave, and I was told not to work while in school, yet I had to spend significant money beyond tuition to meet the program's requirements. I was placed in training sites that were unethical, requiring hours of unpaid labor with little to no support from my school. My first site was so problematic, I had to be removed only to face similar issues at my final internship site. Argosy treated us like dollar signs, not students, and prioritized extracting money over providing a meaningful education. Despite the systemic barriers, I thrived in my training. I excelled clinically. I received glowing feedback. I was published in research during my time at Argosy. But when Argosy collapsed, the entire trajectory of my education and career fell apart. I was forced to transfer to a new school where I was treated like a number. The professors who had once supported me for 6 years were gone, replaced by administrators and faculty who didn't know me and didn't advocate for me when I needed it most. My final internship at Lionel Lakes Prison in the Minnesota Department of Corrections was the breaking point. During the height of COVID pandemic and the Minneapolis uprisings after George Floyd's murder just 10 blocks from where I live, I was placed in an unsatisfactory training site with site supervision that I was uncomfortable with and that I found that I didn't have the academic advocacy and support to navigate the challenges there and succeed. Despite many attempts to get help, I still felt like a number. Due to the overwhelming amount of transfers from Argosy, even though I was grateful to have a path forward, again, I had no one to turn to, no one who knew me or who could vouch for my years of successful training. Without the support of Argosy or my new school, I was unjustly fired, unable to complete my degree, and left feeling abandoned and broken by every institution involved. This experience hasn't just taken my money or my degree, it's taken my future. I'm trained as a clinical psychologist, but so disillusioned and angry and distrustful of the field that I no longer want to pursue it. The passion I had for helping underserved communities has been overshadowed by the injustice and mistreatment I endured. My family has felt this pain too. My parents supported me financially and emotionally, only to watch helplessly as I was exploited and mistreated. They were devastated and furious, feeling as powerless as I did while my future fell apart. This debt, this process, this experience has affected all of us, not just financially, but emotionally as well. The Department of Education allowed Argosy to operate for years, knowing it was a predatory institution. They let it collapse, leaving students like me to pick up the pieces. And we're not alone in this process. This is a part of a larger systemic failure that profits off the ambitions of hardworking people and punishes us for daring to dream. We've bailed out banks, we've subsidized corporations, but when it comes to students, we're left to fend for ourselves. The Department of Education could act, but instead they've chosen inaction, forcing borrowers to shoulder the burden of their negligence. Today I stand with every Argosy borrower to demand justice. Canceling Argosy-related debt isn't just about relieving financial pressure, it's about righting a moral wrong. We were deceived, exploited, and abandoned. We deserve the chance to rebuild our lives. And while I believe all student debt should be canceled, my focus today is on the specific harm caused by Argosy. This institution stole years from us. The Department of Education must act, not just to cancel this debt, but to ensure no one else is ever put through what we endured. We're not just asking for relief, we're demanding accountability. Department of Education, cancel Argosy debts, cancel all student debt, and ensure this never happens again. Thanks.
Try that. Can we hold this? Next. Ready? Hi, my name's David Boyer. I'm a veteran. I'm unique to this situation because of my status as a veteran. I accidentally screwed over 9 other people. There's such things in 1997 when the 90-10 rule went into effect. When on the 90-10 rule, as a school, if I managed to scam a veteran, I got free money, more federal money for 9 more people that were not veterans. So veterans were lied to, set up, showed false documents, everything possible to get that veteran because they got 9 more people for free. So it made us humongous targets amongst all of the for-profits and scam schools. The problem of what has really happened to us is massive betrayal. We were betrayed by the VA. All 151 borrowers defense schools, VA approved. I can't find a school that's not VA approved. I found schools that gave degrees to dogs, VA approved. It's literally that ridiculous. This started off that when I was in the military, when I started in 87 to 94, even 94 when I was getting out of the military, for-profit schools and scam schools went inside with recruiters and had people that were working in records, exiting, all different type of people that had access to our records had side hustles working for the for-profits and scam schools. They stole our records, they stole our service, they stole everything. Then when we finally got out, we were getting hit, 5 to 15 phone calls a day. They would stay on top of you. They would never let you breathe until you went to a campus event. And when you went to the campus event, they arranged it like Disney World. It was glorious, beautiful, and they showed you more and more fake stats. The problem of the fake stats were they showed us stats that they had of job growth, starting pay, just all sorts of beautiful numbers. And they brought in the numbers from the government. At the time, we knew we only had one shot to use our GI Bills, and our GI Bills were Montgomery GI Bills are older that were only good for the veteran. We couldn't use them for anybody else. Our GI Bills were roughly $42,000, a Montgomery GI Bill. So we knew we had to be careful with it because we had one shot at success. We called the VA, we called the different departments, we called the Department of Labor. We checked on multiple sources, and everybody said, hey, that's a good school. You need to go. It will work out great. You'll have a wonderful life. These are also the departments that never got off their butt to validate the data that they printed for the for-profits and the scam schools. It was a 4 to 5 way setup because all the resources we knew to use to validate if a school was good was already being used against us. Also, the Department of Education hid data on complaints and problems of these schools. The VA also hid all these complaints. We had no valid data or choice. Nobody in their right mind would sign up for this kind of problem. So we were hit, we were scammed, we were set up to fail. Then on top of that, the VA, the Veterans Administration, has no transparency of records. They told us just to sign whatever was put in front of us because they purposely make rules so horribly complex that you can't try to figure out what's going on. It's a full Monty game. They got a ball under a cup and they're just running them around and you don't know where it's going to land at. So when we did, and it's common to all these scam schools, that 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through to getting your degree, they will burn up your GI Bill and push you into a predatory loan. And even if you didn't sign for the loan, they signed for you, but you can't get your hands on the master note to see what happened. And when they give you a loan, and I had a loan for about $35,000 on top of my 42, they chop it up. My single loan was chopped up into 11 little bitty loans to push the maximum amount of administrative fees, processing, and everything against me to run up my bill. So when I was done, I have lost over $75,000, well plus above that, Pell Grants, other issues, for a degree that was worthless before they even printed the paper to give it to me. I found this out the horrible, cruel way. I went out to the world with my beautiful DD-214 from the military that I had all sorts of nice records and accolades, and my beautiful bachelor's degree in electronic engineering. And I got asked to leave. I got laughed at. I got pointed to the door. I have resumes ripped up in front of me. And nobody cared. And I didn't understand until finally one of the employers was nice enough to say, I had to say that the interview was over. I had to physically say it. Then once the interview was over, he said, twice a year, that stupid school dumps all these kids on top of us. The school is worthless. It's always been worthless. We don't know why they're even in business, but twice a year, all these employers have to put up with getting dumped on by a bunch of kids that don't know what they're doing. They have poor education. So that's why you're being treated this way. It's not your fault. But the VA knew it was fraudulent and everybody else knew it was fraudulent, but we can't get our GI Bills back. The GI Bill has no revision to give it back because it's an entitlement, but it carries all the penalties of a regular loan that they can garnish your wages and take it away from you and take you to court and do all sorts of stuff. But as an entitlement, we can't get anything back. We also were pushed into our Sally Mays, our Naviettes, our Lakes, Mohilas, those being the Department of Education backed. They are also declared private, so we can't get the money back for that either. I'm a class action member of Sweet versus Cardona. I'm a class action member of Sweet versus DeVos from the very, very beginning. And as soon as the Judge Alsop made the decree of what was going to happen, all veterans were instantly kicked out of borrower's defense because there's no revision to give us our money back. So we didn't matter that we fought so long, so hard. We were getting nothing. And the injury to insult was Donald Trump vetoed H.J. Res 76 that was going to help us out, but he vetoed the measure and put the final nail in our coffin. And when he did so, he gave Betsy DeVos millions and millions and millions of dollars of our money more to her. The last big insult to injury was Delia Ramirez out of Illinois District 3. Her HR 1767 to restore our GI Bills is a piece of pure fraud. It doesn't do anything for us. It's not designed to do anything for us. She was just merely using this for personal and political gain, and I won't let her ever forget about it. But the Department of Education and the VA, Veterans Affairs, both greatly betrayed us, and now I don't even try to look for a job. Even when I had a job, they would just use you, throw you away. I'm what they call a protected veteran because my status in the military, but once the people who hire you get the tax break to hire you, you're out the door. So this is what the world does to veterans. Don't join. Don't play with the military. They don't have your back, and they do not have your health. Thank you.
My name is Dan Moore. Originally, I had a speech for this, but I wanted to have a frank conversation about how this affects not just us, but everyone involved. I went to Brooks Institute of Photography. At the time that I went, it was lauded. Don't call us, we'll call you. Come in with a portfolio and we'll see. And they are the best, or were the best, because they no longer exist. Why? Because a major corporation bought the school, had a milk run, made millions upon millions of dollars on the students that were there, and then disrupted the school out of nowhere, leaving not only Santa Barbara, but Ventura to take the bill. People lost their jobs, people lost their houses, people lost lives. An example for me is that when I went to Brooks, best school in the world, best knowledge for what we do. But what is the worth of that knowledge? When you go to Yale and Harvard and spend $500,000 at that school, they have pipelines for you to be able to make that money. They have other people who come in and introduce you to others that do that work. Brooks said that they had that. Whatever their career services was, it was not. When I sent them emails, now mind you, I've worked with some of the best in the world doing what I do, and I have a little talent, as one would say, but I've never seen the amount of money that was promised. When I asked career services to find me something to work, when going to New York, Chicago, they were looking at Live Touch studios, or looking at mall photography. All the things that I could have done a Google search on my own, which I did, didn't help me at all. How is it that you have some of the best gear, the best knowledge, but yet absolutely nothing to give at the end? I have been doing this now over 20 years, and I have yet to make the kind of money that they said that we would be able to make. And that's because in 2008, an economy collapsed, we changed to a freelance world, and it was no longer about us working for other people, it was about us working for ourselves. Am I supposed to be a full corporated business? How am I supposed to be able to hire stylists and assistants and the people that we absolutely need when I have to wait 90 days to get paid without actually having money in my pocket ahead of time? How am I supposed to do that when I don't have the same things that corporations have when things go wrong? When I had this kind of debt, by the way, at one time until very recently, was $500,000. Imagine that. Doctors have that. Lawyers have that. A photographer? I don't think so. And it wasn't until recently that that went away. But I still owe to the federal government. And it will be with me for the rest of my life. Unless we can do something right now. It's important. I want to tell you a little story that I didn't want to say, but I think it's important. My father meant everything to me, and he co-signed on these loans and said, go out into the world and make good. Help others, help your community, and everything will help you. Well, what I didn't know is that because of how high this debt is and how fast it ballooned, they started garnishing his wages. He couldn't afford the medical need that he needed, and he died of a heart attack. It shouldn't have happened. We shouldn't have had those resources. Now, when that happened, that devastated me, my family, the community that he served. Why should that happen to us? Why should we be the brunt of other people making money when we should be served? We should be taken care of, especially when there's problems with these corporations buying these schools and seeing that they are absolutely the reason why there's a problem. It's not us being lazy. It's not us being inept. We're quite good at what we do, and we do it because we have passion. But passion doesn't pay my fucking rent. To be fair on that, as of today, I'm being evicted of my own place. Not because I'm a bad tenant, not because I'm a bad person, but because I can't keep up with all of these bills. I'm working my butt off, working for everyone that I can, and giving my fair shake, treating them the way that I want to be treated. Well, I would like the Department of Education to treat me the way I should be treated, with respect. Because at one time, as someone who loves to read and to teach and to help others, I felt that education was the best thing one can do, and it still is. But how can we serve our community if we aren't served ourselves? It is so important to tell your friends, to tell your family, that student loan debt relief is not about privilege or not. It's about human right. We want to live good lives, and we are more than welcome to pay our share and to take care of what needs to be done. But when there is absolute fraud, when there is shown that they are doing this to millions of people, and yet we can't do a damn thing about it, corporations can do that. Do we all have to become corporations so we can make it go away? We're humans. They are not. They are entities that are fake. They are entities that lie. I recommend you to talk to your representatives. I recommend you talk to your friends and family and tell them that it is important for them to see this. Because this is eventually going to kill more. This is going to take more from you, and it's going to take more from us all. Thank you.
My name is Bonnie Snyder. Where are we? In our nation's capital, the seat of our government. Where are we? Standing in front of the Department of Education, because myself and my cohort standing behind me believed in education. What are we doing? We are standing out in the cold. And why? Because we have been left out in the cold. You know, like Dan, I was like, I don't don't want to do anything prepared. I wanted to come out and speak from the heart. As a young child in the 2nd grade is where my love for education began. It started with my 2nd grade teacher. And the first person, I'd say one of the first people in education that I looked up to, Mrs. Leslie Larrabee. And I said, you know, like Mrs. Larrabee, I wanted to be a teacher. It began again in the 4th grade with my 4th grade teacher, Mr. Raskin, the teacher who, to this day, I still carry him because he's the one that gave me the nickname Bonnie and spelt it with just an I. And I've been Bonnie since the 4th grade. But it was Mr. Raskin, another teacher, who told me this is what I want to do. I wanted to be in education. My life path took me a little different. Coming from a rather large family, I knew I wanted to go to college, but how was I going to pay for it? I was shy, you wouldn't guess that now, but I was shy and had little self-confidence, so I decided to join the military. The military, I felt, would give me 2 things, a sense of self-confidence and a way to pay for school. So at age 18, when I graduated from high school, in June, that December, I was on an airplane headed to basic training, and I began my academic career. Now, the military provided me with many opportunities, and when I retired, I walked away with 6 degrees, but I wasn't done. I went on to get my master's in psychology, but I wasn't done. I wanted to be a doctor. And so I went looking for schools and happened to find, just by an accident, Argosy University, Tampa. Now I was excited. I was going to move to Florida. Now I'm a Jersey girl. I don't like the cold. So going to the Sunshine State, I thought, wow, I'm going to Florida, I'm going to live there, and I'm going to pursue my dream to become a doctor. Now, Argosy made it exciting for me to come. You know, the campus was warm and welcoming, and the staff was just amazing. But that's where the nightmare began. Little did I know, I was repeating my master's degree. Although they had told me I was fast-tracked into the PsyD program. And I didn't figure this out until I'm sitting in class reading a book and realized this book was on my shelf at home. When I asked, hey, am I doing another master's? Yes, you are. Well, how can I transfer my credits from the master's I already have? Too late. You should have done that before you started the program. But you guys didn't tell me that. So, as we were taught in the military, suck it up and drive on. So I sucked it up and I drove on. Here's where the insult began. 3 years into my program, I had the audacity to be diagnosed with my first bout of cancer. I had to take a medical leave for, wait for it, how long? 1 semester. A single semester. After going through treatments and surgery and everything needed to overcome that first bout of cancer, I was ready to come back to school. But what did I get? Radio silence, phone calls, emails, visits, all ignored. And I would find out that I wasn't placed on medical leave. They had withdrawn me. So I did not have the opportunity to even go back and finish that degree. Did the debt go away? Absolutely not. I thought, how could they do this to me? Like, how could this happen to me? Because I had cancer? To me, someone who had proudly served her country? To me, someone who had done nothing wrong but fell prey to a predatory school. That, like my cohorts behind me, we all feel the same pain. Let me give you an analogy, if I would. If you go to a store and you buy a product and that product is faulty, or that product is recalled, no one gives it a second thought that you get your money back, that you get to return that item and get your money back. We're not asking for our degrees to be given back. We earned those. But we're asking for our money back on the fraud and the deception and the lies that we were subjected to. But then, do we really want to give our degrees back? Let's think about this. How many of us paid for degrees that are useless? How many of us paid for degrees that are useless? They are useless. They told us we would get good jobs. Do we get good jobs? Do we have good jobs? No. Some of us, no. As I listen to, some of us are working in department stores. Some of us are working in schools. Some of us are working not in jobs that are in line with our degrees. You know, I enjoy what I do. Being able to serve those who suffer from substance misuse and working with prevention and students. But my job requires nothing more than a bachelor's degree. I have a master's and 40 years experience, but this is what I'm doing. Yes, I just aged myself. This is what I'm doing. What do we want? Not a handout, not charity, not something for nothing. We want justice. We want absolution. We want our student loans forgiven, canceled. And why? Because we were lied to. Because we were defrauded. Because it is what is owed to us for the hard work, the blood, the sweat, the tears, the emotional anguish, the nights staying up studying. The saying, one day we are going to cross the finish line and the good life begins. But again, where are we? In our nation's capital, standing in front of the Department of Education, asking them to do us a solid, and we are still out in the cold.
I gotta relook. My legs are really bad.
Hi, I'm Dr. Carol Diaz-Lopez. I'm from the great state of California, and I am a psychologist, and I am a defrauded student debtor with $383,000 and counting. Interest is accruing as we speak, as I sleep, as I breathe, as I eat. I am 62 years old. I am a mother of 4 children. I am a grandmother of 4. I am devastated. I am traumatized. I am scarred for life because of what Argosy did to me and all the other people that I'm surrounded with today, and everybody spread across the country, how we have been affected by this. This is life-changing. I don't believe there is any recovery for what we've been through, because how do we make up for what we should have had that we won't have now? And so at 62, I'm trying to reconcile this in my brain, is that what is my legacy going to be for my family? As the matriarch of my family, I had the intention of going back to school later in life after I had raised my kids to pursue this worthy degree, this worthy career, to help my community. And it has been a freaking slap in the face from day one. I knew very shortly after I started at Argosy that things were not as they wanted us to believe. I started asking questions, and I gained a reputation at my campus of being a big-mouthed person because I was asking questions of what the hell is going on here. Why does my statement have all of these fees tacked on? What is this? What is going on? So little by little, of course, they don't want us to know what's going on. But we did know that something really egregious was happening. I tried to contact the then Attorney General of California. I was given the runaround. I contacted the Chancellor of Argosy. I was given the runaround. I had contacted the Department of Education. I was given the runaround. I tried to contact attorneys to get attorneys on board to start investigating what was going on. Little by little, I was learning that there were lawsuits happening across the country at different campuses because Argosy was getting the reputation of defrauding students. Now, we in San Francisco campus, they had a bubble there. We'd had no idea what was going on. They really covered it up, and they did a masterful job until they couldn't anymore. So going through my education, in 2017, EDMC went defunct. That was the corporation that owned Argosy. They went under. Dream Center comes in, riding up on their white horse, saying that they're going to save us. They're going to turn us nonprofit. We're all ecstatic about this. And we're thinking, oh my God, this is going to be the difference for us, right? You're going to pull our heads above water and it's going to be all good. Well, no. Soon we recognized, okay, the Department of Education, the federal government has pulled funding now from them. Then January of 2019 comes and our financial aid does not arrive. And we're like, what in the holy hell is going on here? I was in the state of New York. I had left my home in California because the competition was so fierce, I was encouraged to go out of state to do my internship. I left my family, I left everything for a year to do that at the VA. My financial aid did not arrive. I was making poverty level wages at the time. I was barely scraping by. So the bottom had started falling out. January, the financial aid doesn't arrive. Come March, the doors are locked. The doors are locked. The staff is fired. We can't get our records. It's like, what is happening? The bottom was falling out. No one was talking to us to let us know what was happening. We were kept in the dark for all of it. I could not get any answers. So what happened to me? I went into the deepest depression as I am working with veterans. Can you imagine? My poor veterans that I'm working with, they had no idea what I was going through at the time. And I had to cover all of this up. And I almost lost my internship because of EDMC and Dream Center's behavior. And I am devastated. I have not recovered. I have not financially recovered. I have not emotionally recovered. As a result of all of this, I know, we just want to throw everything. Anyway, as a result of all of this, I have started a nonprofit organization, the National Alliance on Student Loan Debt. We are just beginning. But there is such a cry for help, for community, for people that need help. They need emotional support. They need financial support. They need housing support. They need all this help that I really want my organization to be able to help people find resources that are realistic for them, that aren't going to bury them further in the muck. We want the Department of Education, I want the Department of Education to get off of its ass. I'm serious about this. Get off of your ass. Stop pretending that this is not a crisis. You have embarrassed yourself. You have embarrassed us as learners and lovers of education. You have made a mockery of all of us. And we're not going to let you forget it. We won't. We're not going anywhere. as far as I'm concerned, this day of action, I mean, there are going to be many more coming. Trust me. Like, we are so fired up. And trust me, when you get women mad, you better be ready. I mean it. It's like you screw us over, and we're never going to let you forget it. I swear to God. And my organization's mission is to go after all of the people that buried us. Yes. We want to civilly sue these people, and I swear to God, this is a lifelong mission that I will die taking with me to the grave. My family knows this about me. I'm making this publicly known now. It's like the day of reckoning is coming. And if this administration coming in thinks that they're going to bury us further, oh my God, I have news for them. We are not going to ever allow it to happen because we are becoming a very self-contained entity. And we're not going to let anything or anyone have power over us after what we've been through. Like, we've had enough now, and we're done, you know? So, anyway, heed it all. And I hope Mr. Ben Miller, Miguel Cardona, and all of you are going to hear this. You need to hear it, and you're going to be leaving with this scar. Trust me, this scar is going to follow you for years, and we're not going to let you go. We know who you are. Yeah. And there we go. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kat Hughes. I had the honor of speaking earlier today at the press conference, but just wanted to add a couple of things I couldn't say earlier. First of all, again, I am $580,000 in debt. Let's talk a little bit about what that means, okay? So, when I went to Argosy, DC, just a few miles from here, we were told all the time, oh, it's so easy around here to get jobs that qualify for public service loan forgiveness. Well, I was forced into an internship that has never really been seen as competitive for getting a federal position. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll be a government contractor. That's a great way to get picked up as GS. Just so we know, I've been doing that for 10 years now, and I'm still not a GS. So because of that, I don't qualify for public service loan forgiveness. I have tried to do everything right. I even picked up my life with my family, and we went to Japan for 6 years working with the U.S. military. It was one of the greatest honors of my life to be able to serve those who serve, because I was never able to be active duty myself. But as a contractor over there, a lot of things happened. We lost our insurance coverage over there. I was told at 33 weeks pregnant that I had to fly back to have my baby 7,000 miles away from where we were living. I had patients at the time, so I flew at 36 weeks pregnant, 7,000 miles at my own expense, and the government didn't help me. So, needless to say, I am pretty used to being let down by the government by now. Eventually, we decided we had had enough and lost health care coverage, so we moved back to the United States. We didn't want to originally because we thought working abroad would be a great experience for our family. We would get civilian jobs. Yeah, that never happened. And ultimately, what ended up happening is we moved back to the United States after helping the military in Japan for 6 years, including through COVID and being exposed to COVID restrictions, missing my grandmother's last years with her dementia because I couldn't fly home. In the end, my reward for that was my student loan continuing to grow and grow and grow. And I ended up having to live in the basement of my parents' house. I am 42 years old, and my husband and 2-year-old daughter and I live in my parents' basement. Now imagine that when you have 5 degrees, including a doctorate. You think getting your doctorate would make you successful? Even success sometimes doesn't look exactly how we thought it would. We all have our own stories, and we just ask that If anyone's sitting in that office right now, it's probably empty by now. But just realize that we're not just names and numbers and people with a lot of money complaining. No, we're people, we're lives, we're humans, we're suffering. Thank you.
My name is Joseph Rano, and I attended Brooks Institute of Photography at the Ventura, California campus from 2003 to 2007. I was in search for a degree in motion picture production. I was sold on every single dupe that they could tell me in order to make me choose that school. Even when coming to question, should I attend another school such as AFI, you don't want that. They're too big. We're the school for you because we're going to make sure we can do whatever we can to make sure you succeed in your career. They cut me in on every single kind of loan possible. The debt just skyrocketed. Currently, I'm sitting at $165,000. That's impossible to pay off. I'd have to win the lottery.
Hello, my name is Matt Efsick. I also am a Brooks Institute photography graduate, 2003 to 2007 film program. I went to school at Brooks because I was told that Brooks was the school for photography and film, that it was one of the top two schools, and the other one being the Kodak. But Brooks was the school, and I was lucky if I could get in, and they would help finding work for us. That was what they would do after we graduated. If we were able to make it through and do all the work, they would work for us.
And what kind of jobs did they give you after school?
Oh, I worked for Brooks after school. Yeah, I worked in their equipment checkout, helping students get their productions done. And I couldn't pay my tuition loans working at the school. The people working for the school, the staff, are not the people who were making the money off of the loans. I will tell you that much. We couldn't pay off our student loans working there. I did get 2 emails from the career counselor afterwards, both of them for Craigslist ads for spec productions that, if you know anything about the film industry, a spec production means that you will never get paid for that production. Now, recently, I just got rolled into the Sweet versus Cardona case because of the access to the borrower's defense online and how it was not originally available. It was crashing all the time when you would try to apply. And because of that, I have been rolled into that. My loans have not dropped off yet, but they, I am assured, will. So I am not here for myself on that. I am here because the Department of Education behind me has evidence on the schools and on the fraud that they have committed. And the fact that they have evidence, that covers me, that covers everyone in the Sweet case, that covers everyone before. It should cover everyone that has gone to the schools that have defrauded them.
Yes.
There should be no secret handshake, no magic words that we have to ask. We shouldn't have to ask, pretty please? They have the evidence. It's already there. Why is everybody else still held in loans? We're here in front of the Eisenhower Memorial. It says, they want to build a world of justice with moral laws. Sticking people in debt for their lives is not moral. Where is the morality in that?
Yes.
They have the evidence. Let us all out.
Hey.
Okay. Are we good? Okay. My name is Carolina, and I'm a victim of a for-profit school scam. I stand here in Washington, D.C., not just as a graduate of the now inoperative Brooks Institute of Photography, but as someone whose life has been shattered by a system that preys on the dreams of young people. At 19 years old, fresh out of high school, I didn't really know any better. I was sold a bright and shiny future, one where my passion for photography would lead to a fulfilling career and financial stability. Brooks promised it all: high graduation rates, quick job placement, and an income that would easily cover my loans. My family was so proud of me when I got accepted. I would be the first to go to college in our family. What they didn't tell me, though, Brooks, that is, was that it was all a lie. I trusted them when they encouraged me to take out the maximum loans to invest in myself. Over $100,000 later, I have school credits that won't transfer. It will never be able to further my career or change it for that matter, and a mountain of debt I'll never be able to climb out from under. I'm stuck capturing every penny just to survive. And I was making headway until I lost my job. My loans went into default and the debt ballooned beyond reason. I can't buy a home, living paycheck to paycheck, and I can't even plan for my child's future as a now single mom. Every day is a struggle to make ends meet, and every night I'm haunted by the stress of what comes next. I actually could have gotten into Baylor University. I graduated with high honors from high school, and I could have studied medicine. A stable, meaningful career path would have been possible, but I was manipulated by Brooks's false promises. They didn't care about my future, they cared about their profits. They preyed on my hopes as a young, naive student and left me with ruined credit and a shattered life. This isn't just a financial issue, it's emotional devastation. I've lost sleep, my peace of mind, and my ability to do much for our future. And every day, I live with the crushing weight of a debt that I can never repay. This isn't just my story. It's the story of thousands like me, students who were robbed of their futures by institutions that were never held accountable. These schools lied to us, they overcharged us, they left us with nothing but empty promises and financial ruin. And the stress is unbearable. It destroys your confidence, your stability, your hope for a better life. We came for an education, but we were handed a lifetime of debt. It's time to hold these institutions accountable. We didn't fail, the system failed us. And enough is enough. We deserve better. I demand justice. I demand loan forgiveness for those of us who were defrauded. We're here to demand the dismissal of the fraudulent loans across the board. Every student who was scammed by a for-profit school deserves relief. We don't just want relief, we need it to survive. In this economy, please cancel these fraudulent loans now and give us a chance to rebuild the futures that we were promised. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ryan Schluter. I'm a clinical psychologist. I attended the Washington, D.C., Arlington, Virginia campus of Argosy from fall of 2015 to spring of 2019 when Argosy closed. Argosy and its many locations had ongoing difficulties with money management, mismanagement, and were later sued. I've applied for borrower's defense and am a member of the post-class group. Currently, my loans are at $265,000. I agreed to go to Argosy and agreed to pay for an education that had inflated costs and costs that were undisclosed. I was often told to take out the maximum amount of loans by academic and financial advisors. I was often told it's only 5 years. Just push through it. You'll get through it. Everything will be fine. Argosy University closed early during my 4th year of school. When I enrolled in the program in 2015, I was informed the estimated total for tuition and fees would be $121,250 to complete the 5-year program. After completing my 4th year, my loans were already at $120,998. which again is almost the estimated total of the 5-year program. To offset costs, I worked as a TA for 5 classes. I worked 20 hours a week as either a bartender or server at different restaurants. I also simultaneously pursued a master's licensure to get my LCPC. So I finished that licensure process, and my wife became a math tutor, all to offset costs from summer classes when we'd have to pay for additional courses. Also, I transferred 3 courses in. So again, working all ahead, and nowhere are these loans matching up. Sorry, this wind. Throughout our time at the program, we were told to keep pushing. It's only 5 years. However, this Argosy stink is only getting stronger. My specific campus rebranded early on from Argosy University to the American School of Professional Psychology. So during this process, they already know that they have a bad name, that things aren't going well. They're not good for the students. Argosy also enrolled 40-plus students per year, when most programs would only enroll single digits. This would really influence externships, internships. Every one of my externships were in Maryland. I didn't even bother in DC because it was just flooded. Also, when Argosy closed, I had to stop seeing clients during my last year of externship. So this also, unfortunately, influenced my ability to get certain internships. I was ironically debating between a psychiatric hospital or a pediatric hospital. I know very different, but because my hours didn't accrue, I was turned down from 3 of those placements. Moving forward, $265,000 is a lot of debt. My wife and I have made shifts in our life where we've moved away from the DC area to a pretty rural area in Maryland, in Carroll County. My wife has actually shifted careers from teaching to another position to make more money. She also tutored just to make ends meet. I've also been forced to work in private practice and group practice because a lot of organizations don't want us. So I just want to close. Please cancel Argosy student loan debt as well as other predatory student loans. This is just, it has to end. Thank you.
I just want to thank all of these frozen borrowers standing behind me who have been out here all afternoon. Frozen and
We've been out in the cold for 20 years.
The department is leaving us out in the cold, literally, right now.
No meeting.
So here we are. As you can see, we're all wearing red scarves. This is so we show solidarity because we're all in the red. And the building behind me
Right around our neck.
has the authority to make that disappear. They can do it, and they absolutely should do it. It's time they cancel these student loans. We have done more than enough to prove that we are defrauded. So thank you. Thank you for coming out here. Thank you for flying out here, guys. Everybody's from around the country to make a difference. And I'm here with the Debt Collective. We are a union of debtors. And if you have student loan debt, you should absolutely look us up.
Hey.
Thank you. Woo!
These student loans have got